What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So this upcoming week is going to be insane for the broader market and even more so for SoFi. So starting off, companies unveiling the earnings. You do have yours truly before the market does open on Tuesday. And so I'll go over in this video some expectations, what Wall Street's really going to be paying attention to, and so forth and so forth. But even aside from SoFi's earnings, a lot of big companies putting out the earnings could easily move the market, and each one of these companies at one time or another has moved the market. So we have Meta, Microsoft, Google, Apple, and so forth. So definitely that's going to be something to watch for. Aside from that, a 25 basis point cut. So right now there's a 96.2% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut for the October 29th meeting. In my opinion, that's already been priced into the market, but what Powell says afterwards, that is going to be what really moves the market, because keep in mind the last FOMC minutes did signal that there was numerous members fairly inclined for multiple cuts. So if we get a 25 basis point cut for the October 29th, and then for the December 10th, you are seeing, oddly enough, a 4.7% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut. So if we get somehow a 25, 50, the market is just going to FOMO like no other. Currently, the consensus is a following 25. So even if we get a 25-25, I think the market will kind of take that as a pretty strong positive. And then on the 31st, we do have Trump meeting with China. And that's been a fear that's been kind of looming over the market for a very long time. And I've already seen some tweets from Trump, conveniently, that was roughly around 12 hours ago, saying that he sees a deal coming with China. So at the end of the day, that's going to be huge. Whether we actually do get an actual deal or those tariffs, which are supposed to be commencing on November the 1st, whether they just get paused or pushed back, market's going to take that as a strong positive. So this week is kind of like the Super Bowl of all weeks. Massive opportunity for just crazy highs. And when it comes down to SoFi's earnings, that's going to be equally as insane. So right now, in case you don't know, Tuesday before the market does open, earnings per share estimates currently 8 cents for that, and then 895.01 million for the revenue. Over the last 90 days, you have 11 positive and 0 negative revisions to the earnings per share. So analysts are very optimistic going into this upcoming earnings. A little bit more of a deeper dive though. So the earnings per share, that does represent a 70.16% year-over-year growth, low end of 7, high end of 12. And that is based on 17 analyst estimates. Looking at the revenue, 895.01 million. So that does represent 29.82% year-over-year growth, low end of 849, high end of 971. One thing that they did do last earnings was that they raised their 2025 guidance to 3.375 million. So currently analysts feel that is a little bit low. So looking at the 2025, even the average is 3.46 billion among 18 estimates. Even the most bearish analyst out there feels that 3.38 billion is kind of on the table. And so that is already higher than SoFi's guidance. So at the end of the day, I do feel that SoFi coming out, Chris, and kind of talking about cryptocurrency, what that will potentially do as a domino effect to SoFi's potential revenue, that is going to just cause all of these just to explode. So in my opinion, potentially going back over here for a second, looking at the quarterly estimates, we could even see, maybe even for Q4, 1 billion estimated from analysts. Right now, 999 million is the high, but if they come out strong with their crypto talk and what that is going to result in for growth, then that's going to be a amazing thing. Aside from that though, I think it's just going to be more loan originations and credit quality. That's one thing that did really affect, I believe it was Upstart, and through their fear kind of rolled over a little bit to SoFi, and that's just because of higher kind of delinquencies. So I think in general, if Anthony and Chris come out and reassure just the high FICO scores, credit quality of SoFi, then that's going to really just push things higher. So I think it's a very strong assumption that we're going to have a triple beat. It's just we don't know the magnitude of how high it will go. So when it comes down to that, it's going to be a fun week. Ultimately, looking at shorts coming from their standpoint, we're going into this week, 8.42% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 99.08 million shares overall are being shorted. So definitely good to see that shorts recently returned quite a lot, and it'd be wise for them to continue to return that. Looking at this from a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $31 to kind of $32 range by the end of Friday. Bears are anticipating for it to be kind of between that 27 and 28. So definitely a lot more upside is anticipated. Current implied move is about 10.33%, and that does work out to be a $3 move in either direction being on the table. So again, I don't really see how logically SoFi could go down because of their earnings, unless somehow they do flop in some capacity. But even aside from that, though, sometimes SoFi has triple B earnings and they still go down. That's just kind of the market punishing SoFi, and that could also come from analyst ratings. So anticipate a whole new rush of ratings. Even though analysts probably gave ratings like 2 weeks ago, they'll reiterate and kind of adjust based on what was stated. So most likely you'll have all the bears and bulls kind of battling for the most part. But in my opinion, I do feel that we will definitely have a lot of good reasons to really move higher. And even again, if we kind of took SoFi's earnings out, which is a crazy thing to kind of say, but even if we took SoFi's earnings out this week, just based on all the catalysts that's happening in the broader market on a macro standpoint, like SoFi should really move to these levels, not even counting their earnings. So I do feel that realistically, we could easily see kind of new all-time highs for SoFi, and most likely around that $34, $35 range could potentially be on the table, all dependent on, I think, for it to reach those levels, you'd need something epic from SoFi's earnings. But nonetheless, with it at 29.01, trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 29.33 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, followed by 30.89 and then 33.41. So again, just kind of take note of that. And if you do believe that a pullback is on the table, 26.81 and then 24.29, those are going to be support levels. So I don't realistically see any pullback occurring with SoFi this week, but we've seen crazier things happen. So just anticipate that. Aside from all that fun stuff on the actual chart going into this upcoming week, things are looking good. It is above that 10-day moving average, signaling that there's a lot of good momentum. Looking at the market position, you see a lot of willing buyers. Seems like all the sellers kind of just went away. Even just quickly looking here, there's a little bit of strong sellers up until around that 29.30 for the most part. But SoFi even went a lot higher than that on Friday. So I feel with a nice gentle push, you could easily see that broken and then FOMO and all-time highs being hit. But aside from that, just anticipate a lot of new analyst ratings. So this is some of the most recent ones. So we did just have on the 24th a upgrade from Truist 23 to 29, and then you had the last of the bears for the most part, KBW, sell rating. Still a lot of the bears, for instance, raised from 14 to 18, 6 to 12, and then 13 to 18. So even the bears are turning a little bit more optimistic. So definitely I see higher highs coming for SoFi. So let me know your thoughts on how you feel it is going to play out this week. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? And for the bears, why? Like, that's kind of the $1 million question. Why do you feel bearish about SoFi right now? Is it the multiple factor, or is it they're going to miss on something? Because of course, I think that's one of the biggest arguments that bears have, is just quickly going over here for a second, is just the PE right now, 89.89. So arguably fairly high, but then again, technically is justified, right? SoFi is hitting huge, solid double-digit growth on a lot of their key metrics. So I think this PE arguably is justified. But again, that's one thing that bears have always brought up. And I think just a lot of analysts and bears don't really understand just innovative growth stocks. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to kind of pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.